10, it's just for a podcast. As usual, thanks for the support. We hope you're all doing well. We're doing it at the Pier in Balloch, a restaurant in Balloch. They've still got their Burn Suppers tickets on next Saturday, the 28th of January. So get them booked up on the website. Also, thanks to 86 Media, who are our main man Gordon, doing the camera work and editing, does drone work, anything at all, any filming. Give him a wee follow on Instagram and social media. And also Henry Dunlop Tiling, HD Tiling, another great sponsor. If you want your kitchen tiled, wall and floor tile, get him involved. But how have you been? You been alright?
Not bad, mate. Do you notice anything different about me?
New trainers?
No, go again.
Shaved your beard?
No, third guess.
New t-shirt?
Nah, nothing. Just wanted to see what you said.
For fuck's sake.
What about you? How have you been? Did you watch any of the FA Cup last night?
I watched that Liverpool game last night, was on actually, that was brilliant. I actually watched a bit of that and that was decent to be fair, so we watched that. But we're here with an absolute fantastic guest, footballer, podcaster, TikToker, Sam Wardrop.
Thank you.
How are you, Sam? You alright?
I'm not bad, bit of everything there. And that was an interesting intro as well.
How, what happened? I'll let you know what happened.
So you good, Sam, aye?
Aye, not bad. Just working away on, as you mentioned, all the socials and football.
Living the dream?
Living the dream, aye. Trying to live the dream. Aren't we all?
You've got a wee quiz for us, and
Right.
usually we start with
Let's
questions
go.
for our
I'll
followers,
move
but
back.
So I don't see the answers.
Mere view.
I don't want to see the
I hope
answers.
the answers are in the back.
Do we need to buzz?
No, so I'll ask you one question, then you, so you have three each.
Right.
There is multiple choice involved.
Is it
So-
head to head? Is there a winner and a loser?
Aye, of course.
Always. So,
You've got to have you got a forfeit.
Or a prize? No.
the prize
Him
is...
moving back, it looks as if we've got
Aye.
a sore neck.
So, first question is for Jordan, right? So, who did St Johnstone beat in the League Cup final in bonus point? If you get the correct score. Remember that year they won the double. So this was a big moment in Scottish football.
Do you not get an option, no?
Hibs, Livingston or Celtic. Multiple choice with no choices apart from
Hibs.
Livingston or Celtic.
Was it Hibs?
Yes. What was the score?
1-0.
It was.
Well done, mate.
Right.
I would never have guessed that in a million years, so hopefully my question's a bit easier.
He told me
Well-
before we came. No, no, I didn't. I don't know the questions. I don't know the
so St
questions.
Johnstone won the double that year. Who did they beat in the Scottish Cup final in bonus point for the score? Was it Hibs again, Rangers or St Mirren?
Is this for me?
That's for you.
But, so what was the options?
Who did they beat in the Scottish Cup final? Hibs, Rangers or St Mirren?
Hibs. Rangers or St Mirren?
Hibs, Rangers, St Mirren. Was that your answer, or were you just double checking the questions?
I'm gonna go with Hibs.
It's wrong.
Bradley will also be shiting himself, won't he?
So, well, if you get
Who was
what's the score? What do you think the score was? It was St Mirren. But if you get the score right, then you get a point.
I get a point. What's the options of the score? 'Cause I don't have any memory.
3-1, 2-1 or 2-0.
3-1. 3-1.
It was 2-1.
Miles off it. My football memory is
Right.
terrible.
Jordan, second question. Who did Sam score his only senior goal against? Was it Clyde, Dumbarton or Inverness?
Inverness.
Holy shit, that was quick.
Ah, nice one.
was
It
See, I know the answer to that
It
one.
was for Dumbarton against Inverness, wasn't it?
Aye.
So
So, Sam, according to Google, right, but I feel like I'm on the right tracks here. So, you signed a pro contract, your first pro contract in 2017.
2017.
Celtic that year signed a Frenchman. Was it Olivier Ncham, Edward or Julian?
I'm going to say Ncham.
Correct.
so 2-1 me.
Oh, brilliant.
How many
3-1,
questions?
because you get the bonus
Oh.
point, so it's 3-1. But then Sam's last question is worth 2 points, so...
Make
So-
it 3.
How many appearances did Sam make for Dumbarton? Was it 62, 50 or 57?
Is this including his loan spell?
This is my maths adding them all up.
Is that
so,
right? Well, I never... Aye, interesting.
So what was it? So what was the answer? The questions again? The answers even?
62, 50 or 57?
57.
That's correct.
Ah,
I generally don't know the answers. I didn't know the
So
questions.
what is
or
the
nothing.
score? 4-1 here. So if you get this correct, it's worth 3 points for the bonus question.
Right.
there we go.
So, your good friend Aidan Nisbet
Yep.
plays for Falkirk.
Yep.
What is his squad number? 12, 10 or 9?
10.
Correct.
There we go.
We go to a bonus round.
Yes.
But he's got about one right.
That's 4 each, that was worth 3 points,
Did you
that.
have guessed that one?
I don't know what I'd have guessed.
Nah.
What was the other one?
12,
12.
10 or 9?
Nah. When he first said that, I was going to say 14.
So, Celtic beat Rangers in the 2017 Youth Cup final. Sam scored in that game. Who scored the other 2 goals? So, you both say what you think when I say the options. So, was it Calvin Miller and Aidan McGilduff? Was it Aidan Nisbet and Mikey Johnson? Or was it Anthony Ralston and Jack Aitchinson?
Nisbet,
Aidan
another boy.
Nisbet, Aidan Nisbet, and was it
Mikey
Mikey?
Johnson.
Aye.
Well, according to the information on the Celtic page, it was Calvin Miller and Aidan McGilduff. Well, it's a draw.
So we'll call it a draw. We'll call it a draw.
Well done, Sam. Superb.
Brilliant.
Right. Bradley Wills will be shiting himself after that, won't he?
Yes.
He'll be on the chase next year.
That was a terrible performance, wasn't it, from myself there?
No, that was good. So Sam, we'll just go into a bit about your career, where you grew up. You grew up in Glasgow,
Yep.
went into football, Western United.
Western United, correct? You've done your research.
That's it, I know. So you started off there and then
Aye,
went about.
So I'm from, mum and dad are from Bearsden. I was playing for a local team there called Western United. But what I kind of realised, some of my mates moved on. They moved up. One of them moved to a team called Antonine, which are in Clydebank.
Oh, Jesus.
And there's a difference between playing football and for a Bearsden team and a team from Clydebank. They're more streetwise. There's better players generally, and they were getting picked up. Boys from this team were getting picked up and moving on to professional teams. And my mate had actually signed there within a few months. He was off to Falkirk. So I was like, I was one of the better players in the team and in the school, and I was like, you know what, I was very young still, maybe 10, 11, and I was like, maybe I could do the same as him, like get a move somewhere. So moved from this local team where I grew up, obviously it's only 5 minutes down the road, but it was very different. Coaches were really good. They were kind of a mix of moving away from just dads to, it was still some of the boys' dads, but they played football as well, so they had a bit more experience.
Yep.
And I learned a lot there. I became a lot more streetwise, a bit more resilient and tougher. And within maybe 6 to 12 months, I'd had a few teams looking at me, and Celtic being one of them.
Who were the other teams? Can you remember?
Falkirk were one of them. They were trying desperately hard to get me over there, but the coaches at Antonine were like, "Don't go. We think you can maybe get a better team." So then Aberdeen were interested. Obviously that was better again, and then Celtic came, and I was like,
it's a no-brainer at that point.
Would you sign for Celtic if they came for you?
come on, you would all.
No chance.
If Celtic came calling,
No, no chance.
I don't believe it.
No, no
You
chance.
would.
Believe it.
Wait until you sign when you sign.
How much would they have to pay you?
Nothing. No phone.
What if Celtic had a good crosser of the ball? Because Sam said before,
I can vouch for you. I can be a reference and tell them you've got a great delivery, great right foot.
Delivery.
come on.
Nah, still wouldn't sign. Still with me. They
So
can't ram it.
I went on trial there for like 10 weeks.
How does that work out
Which
then? Do you
was-
just go and train and play games?
Training at the time, it was down at Barrowfield. That's where the younger teams train. I think they still do. So I trained there for maybe 10 weeks or so, and I went on trial there as a right winger because I was playing right wing for the boys club teams because I was quite big and athletic and fast. And I don't know, I was on trial for quite a bit of time, probably because they weren't sure about me, right? And the guy that scouted me was also a school teacher from school around here actually.
Was it Frank McGarvey?
Charlie McGarvey.
Charlie
McGarvey.
Charlie McGarvey.
He was my English teacher.
Aye, he was English teacher, aye. So he was, his school team, I think he took the school team as well, were playing Bearsden Academy, and I played as a centre back. And he obviously went back to the club straight after and went, listen, play Sam at centre back, he'll do a great job. So I played one game there, and I remember being at Barrowfield, there's 2 levels to it. There's kind of upper level, I don't know if you've ever been. There's an upper level with grass pitches, and you walk down a slope, and there's an Astro and another grass. I remember played a game there in the Astro, played really well. Straight after, they were like, take me right up. They were like, let's go, let's sign. And that was it, really.
Well, Charlie McGarvey, I think he also scouted Caramilco Dembele.
I think,
So he's
I
got a
think
good
you're
track
right.
record.
I think you're right, aye.
Sam and Caramilco.
Exactly, similar players, similar quality.
Absolutely.
One's not peaked so well as the other, but
Not yet. Still tight.
not exactly. Still young, right?
That's
25.
it,
Still
definitely.
got a few years left in me.
You're still young as well. No, I'm joking. No, but so where did it go for then? So once you signed, what's it like? Do you get took into Celtic Park and
Aye,
your
so
mum and dad know
you
that?
sign at Celtic because you're just a boy. You're only 12. There's no like. It's not like you're not getting paid or anything. But they still take you in at Celtic Park. You've got a strip with your name on it and stuff, and they make it quite official. And full family come down and eat photos at Celtic Park and stuff. And it was amazing. I just always remember being like kind of nervous, but just like blown away by just it's like one of the biggest clubs in Scotland. And I just couldn't believe it at the beginning. I remember being really nervous going up to training and stuff initially. But like anything, you kind of get more used to it as time goes on, and obviously that kind of the novelty and the excitement kind of wears off as you get used to it and more comfortable.
Aye.
But yeah, and that was it. And I was there from 12 till up until 20.
Who was your
20 years old.
coaches? Know how sometimes it's former players, or did you just have?
A mixture of like not so much former players at Celtic, but just former players in general.
Yeah.
It's made up of a mixture. Some had played, some hadn't played. Some had played at maybe like a lower level and then just gone into coaching kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I always had great coaches there. When I was younger, when I first signed it was with a guy called William McNabb. He still does the kind of academy. Who else was Michael O'Halloran, and then moving up Mildred Kravokapic. Ever heard of him? He was
so.
He was from Montenegro. He was an internationalist and stuff. He was really good. He was big on like he was European, so he brought a bit of different kind of style of coaching. He always big on boys doing technical work and individual stuff. And then as I got older, I had like John Kennedy, Stevie Frail, Chris McCart. He took some sessions. Tommy McIntyre as well. So a real range of coaches, but they all left a really good impression on me, and that's what I feel like. I feel like I learned personally as an individual. I learned quite a lot from just kind of just in person. Like I learned a lot from listening and taking things on board from these guys, and I absorbed as much as I could, because you've got sports scientists, you've got physios, you've got the football coaches, obviously, and I learned a lot during my time there, which I'm thankful for now.
See, you're on about Michael O'Halloran there. Is that Michael O'Halloran's
Dad,
dad? Played for St Johnstone.
St Johnstone, yeah.
See, I was a Rangers fan obviously, but I went to one of the games and the players were coming out and his dad was there watching them. I remember somebody was talking to him about it, about Celtic and stuff. But
I think he's a Celtic.
He's a good coach.
Aye, he might have been. Aye, so.
Aye, they will be. But Michael O'Halloran, the coach, his son's like really good professional. Looks after himself really well.
Does it? Do you know him? Or?
I don't know him personally, but just I know boys that have played with him and just talk about the fact that he's a really good pro.
So what was it like growing up? Like obviously going to school and stuff, and you've signed for Celtic. Was everybody like, buzzing and stuff?
Yeah, well it becomes your identity. Like Sam's a Celtic. Like any young player that plays for Celtic, that just becomes your identity. Oh, Sam plays for Celtic kind of thing. Which is it's nice. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time there playing. I've travelled the world with Celtic. From Shanghai to Qatar to South Africa. You go all over the place playing tournaments, which is amazing. Like in terms of an upbringing for football, it's pretty special. So I had such a positive. I know some players come out of being at these academies for a long time and they can be a bit bitter or negative about it, but my experience was unbelievable.
Brilliant.
Who else was in the team?
My team.
Growing up,
we had a really good. We had a really strong team. So. Like Aidan Nisbet, he's still playing. Joe Thompson's playing out in Ireland. Jamie McCart just signed for Leyton Orient on loan. He's down at Rotherham, I think. Who else did we have? KT, obviously, Kieran Tierney down at Arsenal now.
See, I've heard, you hear stories about stuff, and apparently I'm not saying he was shite or anything, but he was like, it took a while for him to like, kind of develop.
He was like the best trainer, I think what the story was. Like, he was a really good trainer and that's how he got noticed. He probably wasn't one of the better players, that's what...
Could you tell right away that he was going to be...
So the thing is, see when you're a youth, like a young player, between the ages of like 12 and, I don't know, probably 20, everyone develops at very different...
Aye.
Like for me, I probably went in there at like 12, 13, 14, like I was pretty developed from a young age, so you kind of have an advantage in everyone. There was several other players like that in there as well, and then as you get older, like that athleticism loses its value because the other boys go from being boys to men as well, and they kind of develop too. And then it's more about technique and athleticism. So to be honest with you, KT was always a very good player, like technically always very good, but maybe just wasn't quite as developed as maybe some of the other players when he was like 12, 13, 14, 15, so he didn't play as often maybe. But that all levels out when you start hitting 17, 18, 19, and then you see who's really talented,
Were you obviously surprised a bit when you seen that how good they done for the first team and then get a move to Arsenal? Because I was even surprised as a Celtic fan. Because when I first seen him, you could tell he was a good player, but getting a move like that to Arsenal's crazy. It
is insane, but if there's one person who I thought in terms of how much work they put in and effort they put in, it would be him. Like the one story I've told before is, I remember he'd played maybe a few games for the first team and he came back over to train with us one day. I don't know if he's come back from injury or something, or maybe the first team weren't training, but he came back over to train with us and we were doing a possession drill. Basically there was like 3 small goals on one side of the pit, like maybe the halfway line, 3 small goals on the byline kind of thing.
Right.
two teams playing against each other, and it was essentially just defend and attack the goals in a big possession. So he was in, I don't know if he was my team or the other team, but we're doing like 3 rounds of 4 minutes. So you'd work for 4 minutes, rest for a minute or two, work for 4 minutes, then rest. And in between each 4 minutes, he was lying on the ground like exhausted because he'd put such a shift in, and it was unbelievable. There was no one else putting that kind of effort in. Like no one else. It wasn't because he was unfit, but nobody else was putting that much intensity and effort into it. That at the end of that 4 minutes, they were destroyed. And then after his minute recovery, he'd get back up and he'd do it again, and then he'd be like that, lying on the ground, like, and he'd just get back up and do it again. And I was looking, I'm like, gee, like, but he did that every single day. To have that intensity, like, that was one of the things I probably struggled with. I mean, I always did as much as I could, but I struggled to bring like that level of intensity every single day. And I seen it in him and guys like Scott Brown, and I feel like he kind of shadowed himself on Scott Brown in a way in terms of like that intensity and effort and application he brought every day.
So how? Obviously, she said you signed your first pro contract in 2017. So what age were you back then?
So I was 16. So maybe it was 6-7 years ago. No, hold on a minute. 9 years ago. I'm 25 now. I fucking wish it was 7 years ago.
How does that come about then? Does somebody just come up to like, we're thinking of getting you a pro contract? Like, were you training with the first team at that point then?
Nah. So it's you can. A lot of boys had professional contracts and weren't in the first team. Mm-hmm. It's more or less if you're valuable enough, they'll sign you when you turn 16. Because I think you can't sign a professional contract under the age of 16. So I remember my birthday's October, and obviously the season runs from like May until May pretty much. So I was 15 in May, and all the boys were going full time because a lot of them were turning 16. But I couldn't sign a professional contract until October, when my birthday was. So I ended up waiting until that January window to sign one. But I still went in and trained. So I was training at Barrowfield full time, but I was only getting expenses. So I was getting like £100 a week, which when you're 15,
that's decent.
You're buzzing, right?
Aye,
and I'd jump on the train, and I'd get the train from Bearsden to Dumbarton, which is just at the bottom of, I don't know what the road's called, near Celtic
London
Park.
Road,
Was it London Road?
Is it London Road?
No,
I know you're anyway.
And I'd walk up there and just walk to either Celtic Park or the training ground, because that's where you go between them in terms of getting changed, getting your food and training and stuff. And I remember doing that, and it was just unbelievable. You'd be on the train with all these commuters with suits on, you'd have a trackie on, like going to football training. But I absolutely loved it. And then when I turned 16 in October, I then signed the contract, that January, and that was like for 2 or 3 years. And then I signed a second one maybe when I was 18. It took me to 20.
Right.
Was there anything maybe a first team player or manager said to you that always sticks with you? Because you were there when Rodgers was there.
So the one person that left an impression on me was Brendan Rodgers, because although I wasn't part of the first team squad at that point, there was only 3 of us left. It was me and 2 other boys who were still in the academy, but we were like the oldest players, so you know what I mean. So everyone had cycled out. So by the time we got to like 1920, there was only 2. It was me, Jamie McCart, and was it Aidan Nisbet maybe? There was only 3 of us left. Everyone else from our age group that had started off when we were 15, 16, had either moved on elsewhere, or maybe they were in the first team like KT, or they'd just been released and they'd left. And I remember my contract was coming to an end in the summer, and it was good because Chris McCart obviously brought us in and said, listen, we won't be renewing you. The 2 other boys didn't get renewed either. But he was like, the manager wants to have a conversation with you, just a chat with you. And I was like, brilliant. I'd spoken to him a couple of times before, just because I'd played in a friendly and done training sessions and stuff like that. And I remember going in and speaking to him and just asking him for a bit of advice about what level he saw me playing at, because he'd seen me play quite a few times, and just what I should do. And I just remember him, he didn't have to spend any time with me. He didn't have to have a conversation with me at all, and a lot of managers wouldn't, because you're not in their plans kind of thing. Like, why would they? Don't care about you. But for me, he was the best man manager in terms of looking after his squad, the staff, everyone, making everyone feel part of something. And I remember he just spent 10-15 minutes chatting away to me about where he thinks I should go, just a bit of kind of career advice, that sort of thing.
That is class, considering how big a manager he is and what he's done in his career, just to bring in like a
that's why
player.
That's why he's so successful, because he's expert at man managing, and if you can do that, then you're going to get the most out of players. And if you can do it with me, if you can do it with the players that he's got at any club, he's going to get a lot out of them,
What was a typical week like? So would you, obviously playing for the reserves, would you play a different day, obviously, for the first team.
Yeah.
So what would be a typical week like? Would you like train Monday, Tuesday, like playing a Wednesday? How would it work?
It was pretty intense. The schedule changed every week. So they used to always give us a monthly printout of the schedule because everyone would want to see their days off so they could plan something. You'd have maybe, you very rarely had a day off every week, to be honest. Maybe one every 2 weeks, one every 3 weeks.
Is that how it
was
worked?
very intense.
So it was like recovery. Well, so you still get in for like recovery
So
sessions?
there'd be some days you go in and you wouldn't do very much, but you'd still be in. And I remember, I think they probably do it on purpose, but see, when I was 17, 18, 19, they had you in every single Sunday. And I think that was just to stop any boys even thinking about going out. It was always a midday week you get off, so maybe like just a Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday. So you were able to sometimes squeeze a night out during the week, pretend you were a student for one night. But yeah, typical week was, so when it came, I'll give you an example. When Brendan Rodgers came in, they did this thing called, I think it was some form of periodisation, which they do match day, they would do a 4-day lead into games.
Right.
So you would train, so say the game was on, I don't know, Friday, you would train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, play on the Friday, maybe off recovery Saturday or off recovery Sunday. And you would do a kind of, they would structure, so the sports scientists and the physios would sit down and see exactly how much distance you should cover, at what speeds you should cover on those days. So the 4th day was resistance, which was like longer distance. You tried to get you cover a lot of distance. The 3rd day was it resistance? Resistance. Then it went strength. So strength was like lots of change direction drills, and then it went speed, which was like short, sharp sprints. And then match day -1. So the day before the game, you would do reactions. So you would just do shaping, you would do rondos, you would do some short sprints, some sharp things, and that was the way they did it. With the first team, and we would do whatever the first team would do as well.
So what about turning up? Like, would you turn up, get your breakfast? Was all the food laid on for you?
That was one of my favourite bits because I love food. I'm very greedy, but I loved it because you could really control your diet because you had so many options. So we would be in for maybe 8:30, which isn't that bad. You would get your breakfast around 9. They would try and get you in before the first team just because the canteen wasn't that big. This is up at Lennoxtown. Have your breakfast, you'd have like loads of fresh fruits out. There would be beans, eggs, toast, bagels, smoked that, like
just help yourself.
Just whatever you want, it was there kind of thing. Omelets, like you could basically any healthy breakfast you could get, all your cereals and stuff, coffee machines. You'd have that, and then you'd probably go down, changing room, relax for a little bit, up to the gym for like 10 o'clock. You would do some mobility, maybe some upper body, some core before you went out to train. On the pitch for 10:30, 11, train until 12:30, 1, and then maybe do a little bit of individual stuff. Go in, get your lunch, which was again a big buffet of just like healthy foods. So with a big salad bar, loads of different meats, carbs. It was unreal. And that finished about 2. You maybe wait half an hour, 45 minutes, do the gym, upper body or lower body,
right.
And then you'd be home. You'd be leaving and finished at 3:30, 4.
See what you said, that always been on a Sunday, like you don't realise how much dedication it is, because no slaughtering Dumbarton here, right? But I played pro youth at Dumbarton, and I was up seeing the first team physio, and I was sitting in the change room. It was 6 years ago, so I was 16, and I'm sitting at 16 like when with the first team, and they just survived relegation, and they're all talking about going out and drinking and stuff, and I'm sitting there. Obviously now I'm older and I drink way too much probably, but I'm sitting there like that. Why are these guys talking
why
about
these
drinking?
athletes meant to?
Why are they talking about going out drinking and that? Like, they nearly just get relegated. And I was absolutely baffled. But obviously that's Dumbarton, right? There's no Celtic. But like as you said as well, that when I played at Pro Youth, they had us in on a Friday training at night, so we couldn't go out on the Friday night, and then obviously the game was a Sunday, so we're never going to go out on the Saturday night. But there is a lot of dedication, so if that was Dumbarton, must have been crazy.
See, I remember talking to you a while
Don't
back.
throw me under the bus here.
No, and you were saying also that it is dedication, but your family have got to be dedicated, like taking you to training. If you're not, you're taking you to training, taking you to whatever, like taking you all the way up to like just Celtic playing Inverness, away up to Inverness, taking you up.
Well, I would say until you can drive, obviously, like you need to have a supportive family, because like my mum and dad drove me. They basically sacrificed anything they wanted to do in any evening in the week, they sacrificed to take me out to Lennoxtown. My wee sister, my brother as well, would be in the back of the car, driving out to Lennoxtown and back. And from where I live, it's half an hour there, half an hour back, so it's not horrendous, but you go there and back, and then an hour later you're going there and back again, so it's like 2 hours every night. Some boys are coming from miles away, which I couldn't believe.
Did they get digs and stuff sorted?
Some of them did, some of them didn't. It just depends if they wanted to or not. if their family wanted to. But for any young player who's playing professional in one of these youth academies, like every parent will know, it's just like it's a full-time job.
We had a boy come from Oban.
Did you?
Aye, on like a Tuesday and a Friday night.
Some of the commitment some guys have is incredible, to be honest. I was fairly lucky. I was only half an hour away, which was quite nice. Even some of the boys driving from kind of like Motherwell way and stuff, it's like a good 45 minutes to get to training, which it's not horrendous, but it's a big commitment when you're not doing it yourself, when your parents or someone else is doing it for you. But then even going back to commitment for a professional footballer, I think people underestimate how intense it is and how much. I've said I was home by 3:30, 4, which is great, right? But you're basically the only time you've got off is May, and that's maybe for 2 weeks max, 3 weeks max. And when you're off, you're not really off because you're thinking about next season and you're thinking about training already, you know. Yeah. So it's not as if like you finish working a Friday, not you guys particularly, but just generally people finish working a Friday and it's like brilliant, feet up until Monday morning. It's just, and that happens every single week. Just footballers don't get that. It's just constant, and it takes a lot of resilience and kind of dedication. Same with any athlete, though. So
you said also about playing with players. Like, what about some have obviously made it, like Aidan Nisbet, Mikey Johnson, Kieran Tierney. But could you tell, like, for them, that the players would go on? Like, also I know playing for Celtic, you're kind of getting, you must be good if you're going there. But could you tell what? For them that they were going to got.
I think, to be honest, any player that plays at Celtic could play it, if they're still there when they're 16, 17, 18, they could play it at a level which is pretty good. Because I think if you get taken into Celtic and you're still playing there when you're 16, 17, 18, you're a good football player. You do have an ability that you could use at a level of football. So I'm pretty confident most players could play. But obviously there is a handful that always stand out technically. And it's just whether or not they're going to match that with kind of like the dedication side and stuff like that, you know. And that's really what it takes. That's what it's down to in the end.
Was there any players? Sorry, Shane. Was there any players that haven't made it and you thought, how's that guy not playing football? There's got to be out there somewhere. Like, I don't know. There's got to be players out there. Know what I mean? Like, they were absolutely brilliant.
Well, I know a boy growing up that is like the kind of family thing. He was one of the, like, my pals would say it as well. He's one of the best players that we've about here, but because of like his family circumstances, he couldn't get to games and stuff. Like it could be something
has a big influence. Has a big influence. I think probably, I don't know, when you get to the age of 16, 17, you're probably over the stage of maybe distractions and stuff. Maybe not actually. Maybe not. I don't know. I think a lot of it's down to the external circumstances, as you said, like what's happening in your life, family. All that stuff has a big influence. Even players that are playing right now, I think, get a lot of stick. It's like, why is he not playing like he was last season, or he's pissed now, like whatever. Yeah. But I don't think people always understand that it's not. There's stuff like the player has a life off the pitch. You know what I mean? Like he might be having a lot of issues off the pitch, which I do believe affect on the pitch as well.
Of course it does.
When often you see players not having a good game or a good season, but they were brilliant the season before, I believe it's not because they're not training like they used to, but it's probably because something else is happening that you don't know because it's their private life or whatever.
Want to play worse as well? Because if
exactly.
you play bad, you're going to get even more shit for the fans. So you're not going out there deliberately playing shit.
Not going to benefit yourself either. Not going to get picked for the week after. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to play.
Better contract.
What about the first team? Also, you mentioned Scott Brown and stuff like that. Like, who did you kind of look up to and stuff? Like, did any of them keep you under their wing even?
To be honest, like I just found. Obviously, I found the first team players who were really professional quite inspiring. Like the big guys should be in the gym every single morning before training, and then straight after training's finished, they'd be straight in the gym again. Yeah. And I found that I really enjoyed that side of the game, like the physical side, and looking after your body and doing all these wee bits that add to performance kind of thing. So I remember Lustig was always in the gym, Kolo Toure was always in the gym. Who else was always in the gym? Those are the two that stick out in my mind. Sviatchenko, he was always in the gym.
He'd be better off in the gym, he was ranked raw.
Chris Ayer was always in the gym.
That's 3 Scandinavian people you just
that's
mentioned.
True, aye.
So
that's true.
That must be in their kind of genes,
culture and the kind of DNA. But these guys were. There's probably more, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. But I found those guys really inspiring because I'm like, he's doing that, I can do that as well. Like they were doing stuff that I could also. Yeah. Just do like the next morning kind of thing. So I've been in the gym doing the same exercise. I was doing this first, mate.
Did you get any mad stories about being in the youth team or like in Celtic? I know you know that you kind of put people under the
Mad
bus.
stories. I mean,
No, put somebody under the bus.
nah. I mean, again, it's one of these things where there's probably stuff that happened every day that just wouldn't happen in any other line of work, kind of thing. But again, I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus. I think it's something that's appropriate to say, but I don't want to throw anyone under the bus.
You can probably think of a few things, but you can't say it.
See, a time at Celtic, out of the first team managers, obviously you would always want to make it in the first team, but would Brendan Rodgers be the one manager you'd be like, I'd love to just constantly play under him?
Oh, aye, definitely. I think if he was a manager in any line of work, he'd be a brilliant manager, kind of thing. And obviously there's other managers that left a bit of an impression on you as well, like the likes of Ronnie Dyler before, just totally different style, and maybe it didn't work here, but it's worked elsewhere for him, you know.
I know.
But that was mad when he came in. Like literally, the breakfast went from, as I said, like all your fruits and like smoked salmon and bagels and like all this good stuff to just like fry-ups. So
Did it?
It was a fry-up every morning.
I'd love that. Me and you, it's like this.
Bacon, sausages, like just, honestly, a fry-up. The only thing that wasn't there was potato scones, and that was
That's the only thing that's acceptable.
That's the only thing that's decent.
I know, because he had, like as you said, everywhere he's went, but it has worked out for him.
Aye, I mean maybe he's sacked off the fry-ups since it didn't go down well at Celtic, but it was mental. Just nobody could get their head round it, but it's obviously worked for him previously, so he thought, oh, we'll implement it again.
But you talk about that when you're saying players sometimes play poorly because it's something off field. Like Ronnie Dyler had a dream job,
Aye.
but a lot of the stress off field probably. Not saying he would have had a better career and longer career at Celtic, but that definitely was affecting him, and that's what he did just lose to Rangers in a big game. But that's probably why he chose to leave as well. He can't handle the stress.
Aye, I mean I think playing at Celtic or Rangers, like the stress is pretty intense because the fans demand so much, you know. I think more than a lot of clubs, like so passionate, so connected to the teams. You don't get away with much.
No, you definitely don't. Like, see, like you're mentioning off in the field, like Rangers, Celtic, like you can't do anything. Like even like social media, like you generally can't do anything. Like without people like slaughtering you, or like it's madness, isn't it? Like you must get that. Like well, not so much you know.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the only abuse I get now is on social media from my TikToks and stuff.
Is it? Do you get it?
We got slaughtered, didn't we? Slaughter isn't coming.
No, I don't. I'm getting slaughtered. No, me. We've not been slaughtered yet, touch wood. No, somebody says they can't stand me.
Somebody,
Who said that?
My boy, it was my college, right? He texts you and he goes,
He doesn't need to listen, does he, John?
No,
he goes like that, the boy you do the podcast, I can't stand him, and I was like, no. I was like, no, you've just watched the Sanjeev podcast where he mentions a Rangers fan, that's probably put me off
that's
a
a
bit.
bit,
And he goes like, no, I said this 2 weeks ago.
That's to you fucking. But anyway, we'll go on to that, right?
You'll always get one.
I know, prick. It's alright, don't worry. That's threw me right off now. But that's what I'm not. So you captained Celtic for a bit, didn't you?
I did, aye.
Reserves,
I did.
Cup final and stuff. You
Aye.
scored, as it's been mentioned.
That's it, aye. Not many goals in my career, but that was one of them. I enjoyed that as well, because as I said, like, you go. I was there since I was 12 up until I was 20, and you learn a lot, and then you become an older player in the academy, and you're not looking after, but you're seeing like the 16, 17, 18-year-olds kind of coming through and acting the same way you acted, and you've got a bit more experience on them. You just want to kind of help guide them and kind of be like a kind of not an older brother, but just a bit of a kind of just a kind of leader for them. And it was all I enjoyed being a captain. I think I was captain for maybe a year or two. And it was nice, you know, you get in the huddle for the game and you have to give a little mini team talk.
Oh,
did you always say the same stuff?
But everyone has to say the same thing in the huddle, you know that?
How do you say?
It's top secret.
No.
It's a secret, aye.
That's bullshit.
Did you not know? You're a Celtic fan?
No. You need to tell us now.
But they don't know.
Can't tell you. Top secret.
They don't say that, do they?
Top
They
secret.
sing a few songs that you're not meant to sing, probably.
I think they don't say a word, I think they just mime. I've always think that. I'm sure.
What would you say?
I haven't been in the huddle.
In the changing room, man, what would you say if you're captain, Rangers going out Old Firm, what are you saying?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
You're definitely
You'd panic in the
you're
stadium
shouting.
because one guy slaughtered you and you're fucking...
You're
you don't like it.
raging.
Imagine 60,000 booing you.
You should have seen me start this podcast. I couldn't get it right for about 10 minutes. But no, I don't know. I don't know. Oh, I couldn't tell you. That's for another podcast, isn't it?
I wouldn't like to be the captain. I think I'd be I'm not saying I was an amazing footballer, but I think I'd be a Harry Maguire. like as soon as I get the captaincy, I'd end up being worse because of the
Slaughtered.
pressure.
It's a lot of pressure in it, you'd know that obviously, a bit of pressure on you as well, as you say, people are looking up to you and stuff.
There's not too much pressure at the youth level, obviously to win games and stuff, but there's not exactly, there's not loads of fans and stuff. I mean, I felt more pressure going and I went on loan when I was 19, I think 19 or 20 from Celtic to Dumbarton. And
No fans there either.
but there's more than at the reserve games, right? But I felt, I mean, not even so much from the fans, but the players and the manager. Like I felt pressure straight away because you're going from academy football. It does matter if you win or lose, but it doesn't really matter if you win or lose to like a first team where players are relying on getting the win bonus and staying kind of in the league and stuff, you know, in terms of securing their wages and stuff for the next season. So I remember my first game. It was at Dumbarton with Stevie and Ian Durant.
Yep.
And I never knew. I'd been at Celtic, so we always drop, get the ball off the keeper, like pass out and stuff. And I think it was quite a windy day. We were playing Morton, I think. And I dropped to get the ball off. Who was in goals? Was it Scott?
Scott Gallagher?
Scott Gallagher. I think it was Scott Gallagher, right? And he was a bundle of nerves at the best of the time, right? So I've dropped off to get the ball as a right back. So I've kind of dropped deeper in the centre back. He's passed it to me. I've taken a touch, opened up, looked, no one on because everyone's standing at the halfway line waiting for him to launch it, right? I was like, fuck's sake. So turned back out, passed it to him. He's all over the place, right? I'm just giving him a pass back, right? He's all over the place. I think maybe it was Jai Katongo. Somebody started like Morton striker just sprinting down on him. And he kicks it and he just scoops it right up into there, and I was like, oh fuck, here we go. And it just ended up a big scramble for the ball, like, and I think it ended up going out of play. And Stevie's like, Sam, don't you fucking do that again. I was like, Jesus, right.
What
sorry.
year was that? You were 19 then?
I'm 25 now, so that was 5-6 years ago. So 2016, 2017, is that
I
right?
was at Dumbarton Pro Youth that year.
Right, yeah.
Aye. Could have played the girl. Imagine that.
So I can't sign my first professional contract in 2017 then, because I would have been so that would have been 9 years ago I signed my first one, so that would have been 2014, 15.
See that transfer market?
I don't believe
That's
that.
it.
Don't
No,
believe
that's
that.
the most truthful one.
Is it?
Aye.
Well, there's another one that says my net worth's £1 million, and I've not seen £1 million in my
You
life.
turned up in that Bentley. So see, you're on about Dumbarton, though. So you went and loaned Dumbarton, and then you signed for. Well, no, before that, you signed for Dundee United, didn't you? So how was that? Was that good? Well, you had a bad injury. To be
I had a bad injury. That was probably the worst year and a half that I've ever had in football, because I didn't play. I ruptured my ACL, so I was out for a year. And it's just, as a footballer, like, it's the worst thing in the world if you're not playing, and then obviously doing your ACL, that's also the worst thing. So I had a 2-year contract there, and a year and a half of it was spent not playing. The last 6 months of it were spent on loan at Dumbarton. So I returned there under Jim Duffy, and then in that summer I signed. But my 2 years at Dundee United, like, I loved it. I loved the team.
Who's your manager? Was Robbie Nielsen?
I had Shabalazlo,
Right.
and then Robbie Nielsen.
How were they? Were they good?
I mean, I personally didn't think so.
No, did you?
Nah,
I think Robbie Nielsen's a prick.
Do you? I think he's doing well at Hearts.
He's doing alright, isn't he? But he's got a good team. But I just went from having like been unbelievably man managed at Celtic, like through my years there, to going even at Dumbarton I was well managed off Stevie and Ian Durant, and then I went to Dundee United and I had Shabalazzo. His English was poor. His coaching staff didn't really speak much English. They were nice guys, like nice people, but just
How does that even work?
exactly. And they signed maybe, I'm going to say 10 boys roughly, right? New boys that season when I signed, and he didn't know everyone's names, and we were just like, what is going on here? And the worst thing that we did, right? I was telling someone this story today. They hadn't got promoted the previous season with them, so the fans were fuming, right? They're in the Championship and they were going up to Premiership, and this big thing is like, this is the season, made all these new signings, like this is the season we're going to go up, and there was big win bonuses up for grabs for winning games and getting promoted. And the week before the season started, we went to Aviemore for two or three nights, and no football, no training. This is the week before the season starts, like the biggest season for the manager and for us, and everyone just got steaming. It was a big piss up. We were paintballing and stuff. It was hilarious. And we're doing like the river rapids in these big rubber rings, like And boys are just like going down the river rapids thinking, we've got a game next week, like first league game of the season, like what the hell are we doing kind
I
of
was
thing.
going to say that, so see at the time, are you just enjoying it and not thinking about it, or are you like, what the fuck's going on here?
I think we stayed 2 nights in the end, and the first night I had a few drinks. Second night I was like, we're training in like 2 days. I was like, I'm gonna take it easy. Like a couple of the boys did, majority of the squad and the staff didn't, and I was just like, what is going on here? Like this is mental. Week before, you'd think maybe like during pre-season, like when it's quiet and stuff, maybe. But the week before the season, we went paintballing, and the boys kind of they didn't not like the manager, but they just, I don't think, there was no real connection. I remember from paintballing, the manager was like one of the last ones left in the game. We were all standing at the side because we'd been shot or whatever. And he's down line in his front, like shooting someone away over the distance. And one of the boys, Craigie Curran, mental guy, just turned around with his gun and started nailing him through the back. Take that.
Who was it Dundee United then? When you were there was
players.
Playing, aye.
Nicky Clark was there, but he's St Johnstone now, is he?
Aye. Was Big Siegrist there?
Siegrist was there. He's a good big guy, nice big guy. Freddie Franz is there. He went back to Belgium, played in the same team as Shanks out there, Lon Shankland.
Aye.
Who's? I don't know if anyone's still there. Some of the younger. What's it right back? Liam Smith. He was at Hearts.
Aye.
He's there. Ian Harkes is still there. I think that's about it, to be honest with you. I can't really think of anyone else that's still there. Some younger boys are still there.
So when that manager left and then Robbie Nielsen came in, were you buzzing hearing that appointment?
I was looking forward to it because I'd spoken to Aidan Nisbet, who'd had him previously at MK Dons, and Nizzy was like, listen, like you like him kind of thing, like he's just, I don't know, Nizzy was just saying you like the way he works or whatever. And he came in and I was looking forward to it because I was like, brilliant, old managers away kind of thing, that rough patch. I was like, fresh start kind of thing. I'm looking forward to it. I remember the very first game we played Thistle, and he put me and another boy in the stand, and straight away I was like, what's going on here? He'd only been in a week, and I was like, what's going on? So he pulled after the team talk, and he was like, I just want to give the older, because I was 21 or something, he was like, I want to give the older boys, the experienced boys an opportunity, they're old or whatever. And I was like, fair enough. But then I never played. He came in November and I didn't play one game for the first day. I don't think I was even in a squad, and I was playing a reserve game on like the 12th of January and ruptured my ACL. I was like,
that must have been tough.
This is brutal.
See, I broke my foot. In fact, it was the 15th of January. So what's that? Like 5 days ago. A year. I was going to say, what the fuck was that? No, so that was playing football. Me and another boy went in for a tackle, and I won the ball. And he won my foot.
Aye.
And that was it. But it was weird in 1-to-1 sessions at that time, and I sent you a picture, didn't I?
Aye.
It was like the X-ray, and it was like, so I couldn't. I know it's different between.
Did you have surgery?
I had to get an operation. Do you want to hear a story about that?
Go on then.
Right, so I had to go to Paisley Hospital. In fact, 25th of January it was, I got the operation, but that's another story. So we're in the hospital, and you get all your tests. At that time it was a COVID test and all that. So the guy came up to take us to theatre. So before that, the surgeon came down and he was telling us what they were going to do. And then the anaesthetic guy came down and he was like that. Look, basically, going to sleep, we'll do the operation, put 2 discs in your foot, blah, blah, blah. And then woke up, got home tomorrow. So I was like, brilliant. So we ended up going up 5 minutes before and this guy came on and he's like, right, whatever he just tell you, scrap that. You're going to be like still awake, but you'll get like, a jag in your back, 2 jags in your leg and a jag in your foot.
Oh, horrible.
And I was like, nah, forget it. I'll just go up the road. Like, I can't stay awake while you're doing what you're doing. He's like, no, we've got no beds. Like, you'll get out the night. And I was like, nah, forget it. So for some reason, I ended up going for it, and that was me lying in the bed.
Were you awake?
I was awake through full head. It was covered.
You can't see.
I couldn't feel a thing.
I know, but still.
They're down.
You can hear them all.
No, you could feel them touching it and stuff, right? But so anyway,
We've cut the wrong foot off.
no, so I end up the mad anaesthetic. I end up getting like, his best 1-to-11s in football and all that for a bit of normal. So anyway, they took you back, I couldn't feel a thing. And then you get put in this recovery ward for a bit of hour, right, and they're checking your circulation. So I can't feel anything for the waist down. So I'm like, I fucking smell something here, man. So let's get on. Next minute I look, oh no, I shat myself. I didn't know, right? So I was like, oh, for fuck. So I'm like the nurse. What? I had a wee accident here and that. She's like, oh, don't worry, send me for it. But I couldn't move, so for him away, like cleaning up and all that.
You're joking.
So that was me, and then also I came round.
Is that normal? Is that standard? Or?
I don't know. But they never even batted an eyelid. I'm just like that. So that was me. Couldn't walk for about 5 months.
Oh my god.
So what
Oh my God, didn't he?
Say, what's a good story though?
Aye, so
That's a good
that's
story,
it, there we go. But
That's shocking, mate.
but it's not, so that was terrible. It must have been terrible for your injury. Did you
Aye,
shave
wasn't as
yourself
bad
when
as
you were
that,
injured?
though.
Oh
Nah,
my
but
God.
I couldn't do that in terms of just like getting numbed and then still being awake.
It actually wasn't that bad. I remember at the time going, oh, I hate this, but once at a time, like, it was just, they put a cover up so you couldn't really see
Aye.
anything, but,
Aye.
but so,
Oh,
after
nasty, mate. Don't know what's worse. The awkward.
after Dundee United, you signed for Dumbarton, so you went from full-time to
Dumbarton,
part-time.
Aye.
So that must have been a bit of a change and a bit
Aye,
different.
it was. And because I hadn't played for like 2 years, I was like this is all I've kind of earned really, this part-time football. So went there, obviously playing part-time football, and then at the same time, actually seeing I was out injured for the year with my knee, I'd started looking at business kind of ideas and what can I do, what can I spend my time doing, because I was pretty bored, I didn't have much to do. I was doing my rehab, but apart from that, I wasn't doing much else. So I was like, what else can I do? So I started researching kind of football coaching businesses and all this kind of stuff. That's where that kind of started me looking into business. And I did a personal training diploma as well at that time, because I thought, you know what, I'm going part-time, I need to earn money as well, because part-time football money isn't that much, so you need to earn a living kind of thing. So I did that, started playing with Dumbarton, and then I think COVID hit like a couple of months later, so I wasn't doing anything really. I wasn't playing football, then I started doing the coaching kind of online. That's what kind of pushed me into that. I was doing online classes, not football stuff, just general fitness. Yeah. So I was kind of, I think we were actually furloughed at the time by Dumbarton, and I don't know if I was I still at Dundee United when, I think I was still at Dundee, no I wasn't, maybe I think I was still at Dundee United when COVID hit actually.
You done it, I think you went on to Dumbarton, and then while at Dundee United you done a loan, and then you actually signed for Dumbarton.
I was still on loan, so I think maybe at the start of that year, I think January, February, that's when COVID hit, because I got furloughed off Dundee United until that summer. And Dumbarton weren't paying me actually, but it was during that time I did the PT course from like January to summer, and I was furloughed. And then obviously when summer came, there was a bit of training, and it was just on and off for that next year.
That's right. Remember, like, also with Gail and stuff, like, we were training, it was like non-contact.
Non-contact. It was non-contact.
It was absolutely pish.
Our Gail's training was just
we were just running and doing passing and stuff.
You actually done nothing, like you're just passing.
It's like no contact rugby.
That's
what you do that in school.
That was a strange time. But then obviously that cleared up, and we finished the season. I think we just finished the season, and by that time I'd finished the personal training degree, and I was doing crazy hours. I was doing like 40, 50 hours, well not crazy hours, but in terms of 40, 50 hours of coaching plus then another 10 on top of that with the football, it was quite a lot. And also coaching's quite physical, because you're running about if you're doing football, or you're chatting to someone for that full hour when you're coaching them kind of thing. So I got to the stage where I was like, I'm doing far too much here. And it came to the end of that season that the contract at Dumbarton was up. Did I want another year, or did I want to look elsewhere? And at that time I started to maybe not enjoy my football as much, and I wasn't sure if it was Dumbarton or if it was, I couldn't put my finger on it. So I thought, I'll take a fresh start somewhere. Been at Dumbarton a couple of times through loan and signing there. So that's when I went to Airdrie.
Yep.
And at that same time, I also, Brian Graham elbowed me in the eye. I've played Dumbarton v Thistle and I fractured my eye socket.
That's right, you had to get surgery as well on that, didn't you?
So basically a year after my knee surgery I got eye surgery, which kept me out for months as well, and that was brutal, that was horrible, that's actually disgusting. So we both went up for a head on, he elbowed me in the eye, and the video looks pretty bad, but I basically, typically boxers get it from getting punched in the face, obviously, and this part of your eye, the lower orbital fracture is like the weakest part of your eye socket, so that blew out. Oh. And I didn't know this, right? But I remember getting it done, and I hit the ground, and I was like, fuck, because I just felt my eye was killing me. I was like, please be able to see when you open your eye here, like. So I was like that with my eye, it was just all blurry, and I was like, fuck, and the physio was like, it's not too bad, and obviously I couldn't see it. I was like, fuck my eye. And I definitely was concussed as well, like, because the next few days my brain was like, I just couldn't think, I couldn't focus on anything, I was like, my brain was just scrambled. So I went straight to hospital that night, got scanned and stuff, And it was like middle of the night, so no one really looked at it. And 2 days later, I got a phone call from the hospital. They're like, "You need to come in today." They were like, "This is emergency surgery. Like, there's part of your eyes and your sinuses, basically." I was like, "Fuck!" She's like, "Don't blow your nose and try not to laugh." I was like, "Why was my eye going to come out my nose?" kind of thing. She's like, "No." She's like, "Just don't." So I went into hospital, and the guy basically said, "Listen, we're going to do surgery today. Can you stay in?" I was like, "Fine." He's like, "Tell me the complications." Obviously, complications. Like, he's like, "You can lose your sight in your eye," kind of thing. I was like, "Right, brilliant. Here we go." So I had to get it done because he says if you don't get it done, your eyesight will worsen over time, and you might have a bit of. Even now, I still notice it. You might not notice it, but I notice it in pictures and videos because I do a lot of them. My eye's slightly different, just in terms of like it's more so the muscle on my cheeks isn't quite the same. So one eye looks bigger or one eye looks smaller. And photos now you two are looking at my eye.
I'm just staring at your eyes.
See, I've got a lazy eye, I've got a squint eye. So
but basically it's just kind of, if you get any surgery, even my knee's different from when it was before the op. Like if you get surgery, it changes it slightly. So I went in for the emergency operation. They put a titanium plate in the bottom of my eye, which still gives me like, see when I touch it, you can kind of feel it. It's horrible.
Fear a wee bit,
Every time I put my contacts in, I'm like,
so you also went on to the player programme. So get that out the now if anybody wants the player programme.
If you're a young player in the area or anywhere globally, because it's online. So if you two are looking to get into shape,
I need to
get into shape. Well,
there we go. I'll give you a 2-for-1 deal.
See when we done the 1-to-1 sessions, do you ever remember we done like sometimes we'd do the crossbar challenge between me and you and the football teams?
And I would win.
No, well, remember what? Do you ever remember what the score was?
It's a long time ago.
He talks about this a lot, by the way.
No,
maybe too much.
It was 3-3. So if you're up for it, we'll have a decider one day.
In here?
No, we're not in here. We'll go up to Calhoun Park. You up for a decider?
Don't tell everyone where the secret training location is. They'll all turn up.
Calhoun Park. So if you're up for it, me and you, crossbar challenge, football, tennis,
Fine,
we'll
mate,
video
perfect. I'm rusty though. I've been at the game for over a year now.
So far. So the player programme, so how's that going?
So the player programme is now my main business, which is it's an online coaching business for players, and I kind of built that up in the last 2 or 3 years. So I started with all the personal training and stuff, and I realised I was like, football's what I like, what I love doing. It's where all my knowledge is. As I said, 8 years at Celtic, a couple of years at Dundee United. Like I've learned, and also playing in the Scotland setups and stuff when I was younger. Like you learn so much, you don't even realise it, but I absorbed a lot. So basically, I packaged everything I've learned up into like whether it be gym stuff, nutrition stuff, pitch stuff, technical stuff. Brought in a physio, brought in a technical coach, Aidan Nisbet, who's get the most assists in League One. There we go. So he's a good technical coach to have on board, and we essentially just look after players. We get players all over the world. We get players in Singapore, Australia, Dubai, Greece, America, Canada. So and obviously Scotland, England, and Ireland. So all over the place, and that's just through the content that I put out on social media that's been able to reach players like that. So that's my main business just now. And yeah,
as everybody says, like, who are you getting on next? Sam Wardrop was like, I see him in my TikTok. You're popping up everywhere.
It's mental, honestly. Like I was in where was I recently? I can't remember, but honestly, I'll go to the weirdest places and so I'll get a tap on the shoulder and they'll be like, I recognise you. Or they'll just say, are you Sam Wardrop? And I'll be like, they'll be like, TikTok? And I'll be like, yeah, TikTok.
See, before we finish up, Sam, right? Who would your ideal 5-a-side team be with the players that you've played with? So out your career.
Can I be in it?
You can be in it.
Right.
So what formation would you play?
I'm captain. I'm capitano. So it'll be me, KT, Mikey Johnson, Jamie McCart, because Jamie McCart's a winner.
Who's in goals?
I'd have to pick a goalie, or is it just do any man?
Attacking. I like that.
Right.
I've got an all-out attack. I've got 2 defenders in that team. Well, 3 including KT, but he can play up. He can play up as well.
Right, go for it. You don't need a keeper.
Mikey and who else do I want in there? I'm going to go with my technical coach Aidan Nisbet. A bit of flair. A lot of if any of the boys that I played with hear that, they'll be disappointed that I've left them out. But that's a strong 5-a-side team.
That is.
I might be the weak link in there.
Nah, you'll be fine.
Nah.
What about a sub? If you had one sub, then who would you pick for a sub?
I'd pick you.
Would you actually?
I've been completely left back.
I need that right foot.
You always say
I've never seen you train.
True, you need
Who's a better player?
Probably she. But no, well, you always say I was the best crosser you've ever seen. You probably say that.
The most natural.
The most natural. Do you remember the time? I know we're ready to tee you up, but do you remember the time like also you done your eye and your brother was there? And he was pinging balls into us. Like, so it was all set up and he used to ping a ball.
Right.
Because also you couldn't train.
I couldn't ping.
So he was pinging the ball, but the first one he hit, it went right into the off park. And I remember you going, right, and then the next one, it went to the other side. Then the other one, it was miles away. And I remember you going, listen, is it Craig, Ben?
Ben.
Ben, you're not even hitting him. And I'm like, no, I was just laughing.
The
But
thing is, my brother's a good player as well. I don't know what was wrong with him that day.
Who's he playing for?
He doesn't play for anyone, but he's just a good player.
get him down to Castle Rock, yeah? What positions he play?
He'll play anywhere. He's a big boy. He's put on a load of muscle, so probably centre half.
There we go, happy days. Before we go on, have you had your dinner?
I have had my dinner,
What'd you
but
have?
I had meatballs.
Just meatballs?
Aye.
At
and-
Subway?
No, it was spaghetti meatballs.
Oh,
That's a strange question. I feel like there's a catch to it.
That's actually going to be our question, I guess.
Aye, we'll ask him
Final
every...
question.
I've had my dinner.
What are you having for dinner?
Well, I had my dinner, so it was like spaghetti with meatballs and garlic bread.
That's good.
Which
That's
was,
good.
it was delicious.
I've not had anything yet, but I had chips and cheese earlier on.
Chips
No,
and
is
cheese?
it?
I don't like that.
That's not good for recovery, mate.
I don't know, I know. But
What do you have?
Steak pie and chips.
Decent. Not
That
mind
is
that.
not bad.
That's not bad. Well,
Puka pie. See, that's
a
not...
pucker, any Bentos. Well, what a guest you've been, Sam, and
Cheers,
it's
guys,
absolute
enjoyed
pleasure
it.
to have you on. And remember to like, share and subscribe, follow Sam Wardrop, and thanks again. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.